Hello everybody and welcome to this Bristol Beacon event hosted with Berlioz 150. So this is a real first for us all. Not only is it the first CPD event that we are doing with our new Bristol Beacon brand, it's also the first one where we're doing it live in person and live streamed. So welcome to you guys here in the audience, but also welcome to everybody who's live streaming from wherever they are. Just to say, we will be asking questions or inviting questions from you guys. So please do think about some things, and particularly for those who are tuning in virtually, please do think about some questions that you might want to ask and post them in the chat, and we will address them at the end. It's a real pleasure to have everybody here in person. We are also really pleased and excited to be welcoming our Music Mark nominated schools today. So welcome to you guys in particular. Music Mark are a great support of this event as well. You'll be hearing from Bridget Whyte later. So before I introduce Lord Aberdare, the chairman of Berlioz 150, I wanted to just introduce a video that you will see. This is a really exciting piece of work that we have great thanks from Laurie and Kirsten at Horfield, and indeed Miss Green, who's not here, but her class take great centre stage. I think it really encapsulates what is possible with this project. Enjoy.
Fantastique for Schools is an innovative music education programme that focuses on specific composers and specific works, initially Berlioz and his symphony Fantastique.
I really liked it because it told a story. For like movement 5 with the witches dancing, it made it sound all cackly and jerky.
I would encourage teachers to get involved with Fantastique for Schools because I think it allows children to really learn about music by immersing them within it. The programme's been specifically designed for specialists and non-specialists. The resources can all be accessed for free online, and the resources really do walk you through the lessons step by step. There's a variety of different activities. It makes the learning really meaningful and memorable for the children, and you can learn alongside them. You can learn about Berlioz by looking at the resources with them.
He didn't give up on his dreams because people held him back. I like that there's different instruments playing rather than just about 2 instruments and someone singing.
To start with, there are 5 lessons, 2 for primary and 3 for secondary school children. The lessons are highly engaging, hands-on and practical, and they really allow the children to explore by doing. The lessons have a variety of activities that encourage children's creative responses to the music that they hear, and all of the activities aim to make the work very meaningful and memorable for the children.
I loved doing the conducting and learning. I've definitely had fun so far.
I like doing the weaving, seeing all the layers, each of them meaning like different musical instruments play at a time. I really enjoyed doing the graphic marking because it was fun just listening to the music and drawing what you thought it sounded like on the page. I really enjoyed doing the Glockenspiels and communicating with people by music. I really enjoyed writing the reviews. You got to use your ideas about what you thought of Berlioz and Symphony Fantastique.
The programme in particular is great because it allows children to really deeply explore this one work and a bit about the life of this really inspirational composer. This piece of music, Symphony Fantastique, is particularly engaging for children because it tells a story, and that's great because it allows children to really focus their listening, and they can hook their ideas onto something, in this case the story of the work. It's also very grand in its scale, so the piece is quite shocking, quite surprising, scored for over 90 instruments. So the children's reaction to the music is definitely a highlight for me.
Well, different bits made me feel different things. The first movement made me feel more calm and relaxed because it was all about a dream.
When I listened to the march, it made me feel really energetic. It's fun to learn what the music is saying.
In some parts, I was kind of scared.
I like classical music because it's so big.
I used to be scared of classical music.
I like to play the trumpet. I would choose to play the violin.
If I was in the orchestra, I'd play the trombone because it looks fun.
A lot of the time when you grow up, you're thinking, oh, I wish I played an instrument and I wish I learned how to play music. So if you learn it in school, then you do learn some music.
Well, I hope that gives you a really good idea of what Fantastique for Schools is all about, and that you found it as exciting as I did after all the work we've been doing to see something coming out of it all. I'm Alastair Aberdare, chairman of Berlioz 150. Well, you know that because it's on the screen. And I'm delighted to be here with all of you in the room here and all of you not in the room out there. And this is really a very exciting day for the charity because, as I was saying, this launch is really the first major outcome of our work. Berlioz 150 was set up to mark the 150th anniversary in 2019 of the death of Hector Berlioz, the great French composer. And we have one simple aim, to inspire young people with a love of classical music, including that of Berlioz, and choral singing. And we're pursuing that aim through two projects. The first, both of them branded as Fantastique, after Berlioz's best-known work. Fantastique Live is hoping to stage a massed children's choir event inspired by Berlioz's own experience of hearing 6,500 children singing together in St. Paul's Cathedral in 1851. And obviously we can't limit ourselves to such a small number, so we're going for 10,000 children, but we've been slightly interrupted by a minor crisis over the last year or two, so that project is slightly on hold at the on the back burner at the moment. Our other major project is Fantastique for Schools, which is creating teaching resources for children aged 8 to 13, using, as you've heard, specific musical works that we think would engage and excite and enthuse children of that age. So today we're launching the first set of Fantastique for Schools resources consisting of 5 lesson plans, 2 at primary stage and 3 at secondary level, based on the Symphonie Fantastique. And you'll hear more about those in a moment. Over the coming weeks, we're planning to test drive these first resources with at least 20 schools of all shapes and sizes, if that's a suitable description of schools, including some with rather more limited music education resources and facilities than Horfield Primary, which was the school that you saw in the video. Our aim is, in the test drive process, is to ensure that the website and the resources include everything needed for the lessons, are easy to use, and above all, that they're effective in engaging and educating children and indeed their teachers, as Laurel pointed out in the video. So I hope those of you from schools, which I think in this room is probably most of you, will want to try the resources or even take part in the test drive process in the next few weeks. And that once you've discovered for yourselves how brilliant they are, you will help us to spread the word to other teachers and other schools. We've had an enormous amount of help to get us this far, so there are lots of people to thank in all too little time. I must apologise that the brevity of my thanks does not reflect the scale of their contributions. First of all and above all, Laurie, Stewart and her colleagues here at Bristol Beacon have been magnificent partners, not least in introducing the wonderful teachers who have created the lessons, Kirsten Cunningham and Laurel Steele at Horfield and Dan Pate at Bristol Free School, and you'll hear from all of them in a moment. Other input to the lessons has come from Holly Newnham, who did the illustrations, Nick Stewart, who did the animations, Ben England, who did the conducting videos, and the actor and Berlioz lover, Malcolm Sinclair, who, again, you'll hear him narrate in as Berlioz. He's also recently recorded the whole of Berlioz's wonderful memoirs as an audiobook, so there's a plug for that. The audio and visual materials and other resources on the website have been provided by LSO Live and Aurora Orchestra, including video clips. You saw one of them from the brilliant memorized performance that Aurora did at the Proms in 2019 of the Symphonie Fantastique. And then both Music Mark and ABRSM are helping us promote the resources to their networks of music teachers, schools, and music education hubs. And I've now reached this chart here because, of course, none of this happens without a bit of money. And we've had support from a lot of generous funders, including the bodies listed here, and in particular, the Ashley Family Foundation, the Foyle Foundation, and the New Berlioz Edition Trust. And we're hugely grateful to them as well as to all the individual donors who have made a huge contribution as well and are listed on the website. I hope it won't seem incestuous if I end with another huge thank you to Julian Plante, our Fantastique project director, who has masterminded the project and indeed this event with Laurie's support, showing unwavering focus and commitment, supported by the other two members of our enormous team, David McBride and Stephanie Lloyd, and of course our trustees who have stuck with us throughout all of this. Now, I've completely lost track of where I am. All I know is that I've almost certainly overrun and had better stop before I throw the whole of the rest of the agenda into chaos. But I just want to say in ending how proud I am of how my own passion for Berlioz and my desire to share it, especially with younger people, has helped to bring about the teaching resources we're launching this evening, and we hope others to follow. So please do try the lessons in your own schools, and let us know what you think about them and how we could make them better, and how we could add to them, and any new ideas like that. We'd be thrilled to hear from all of you who try it. Now, before Kirsten and Laurel and Dan talk to you a little bit more about the lessons themselves, we're just going to give you a brief taster of Malcolm Sinclair in the person of Berlioz, introducing himself to the children taking part in the programme. But thank you very much for being here, and please do give the resources a whirl, the programme a whirl. Thank you.
Hector Berlioz. Who am I? My name is Hector Berlioz, and I'm a well-known French composer. I was born in 1803 in a small town in the south of France, where my father was the local doctor. My family wanted me to be a doctor too, and sent me to Paris to study medicine. But I had already developed a passion for music, and it was hugely increased when I had my first experience of opera in Paris, and later, when I discovered the magnificent music of Beethoven. So I decided to be a composer, much against the wishes of my family. I had a hard time for a while, learning how to compose. I had to sing in a vile theatre chorus and take on any other work I could get to pay the rent. But eventually, at my 4th attempt, I won a prize for young composers, which gave me a year in Italy to continue my studies and write music. By that time, I had already written my first big piece for orchestra. This I called Symphonie Fantastique, and you're going to hear a lot more about it. It's become one of my most famous works. The symphony was one of the first to have a program in which I tried to
Thank you. It's a real privilege to be invited to be part of this programme. My first experience of Symphonie Fantastique was from the back of the orchestra because I'm a percussionist, and I was playing the second set of timpani. And it's the sort of piece that once you've played it once, it's with you forever. It's that real magic at the end of the performance where you walk out the concert hall and you can't possibly think of anything but rehearing those amazing melodies and the orchestration that's there. So Laurel and I were extremely excited to put together the primary lessons for this programme. And I'm going to start by thinking about the model music curriculum that came out in March 2021. And at the very beginning of that, it talks about the fact that music should have an ambitious approach to primary school, and that's exactly where Laurel and I started. The idea that children should be able to understand the works of musical giants of the past, and what an amazing way to go with Berlioz. He certainly is one of our musical giants. It's not a privilege for children, but a vital part that they should be able to aspire and really understand some of these great musicians. And we tried to create some lessons that were truly immersive, engaging, challenging, and as Laurel, I'm going to pinch one of her words, irresistible. She's always talking about the fact education should be irresistible. And that's what we attempted to do when we were creating these lessons. So when we thought about what we were going to do, we wanted to create the idea that Berlioz himself is all-embracing. He really covers every last aspect of his work. It's truly incredible. And we wanted to create a set of lessons that embraced all different kinds of learning, from kinesthetic to looking at musicological activities, to activities that embrace listening, that embrace composition, that embrace performance. So when we were looking at what we were doing, we were trying to think of all of those things. We wanted to inspire the children to delve deeper, and that's something I think that education is really, really important. That idea of not just skimming the surface and listening to something once off, but to really delve deeper into the curriculum, to allow them to create that widening understanding, not just of Beethoven, as Lord Aberdare referred to, but of classical composers and beyond, and allow children to see that that music is for them, it's very much for them, and for every child in the classroom. We were really, really passionate about aspiring to inspire. So those children really tried to reach for the sky, to really deepening their understanding, and to really make sure that we weren't just skimming that surface, but we were giving the children a real breadth of understanding and knowledge about that composer. And something that we wanted the children to do was that they would open the door to want to look at other composers, and as Izzy so beautifully said in that clip, to want to learn instruments. So they would go out thinking, actually, yes, music is for me, and I could learn an instrument too. And I'm very happy to say that Izzy's going to be learning the bassoon after half term. So we've ticked that box, which is really, really lovely. In terms of the programme, we wanted to make something that was accessible and achievable, something that teachers who don't have that confidence in music, that maybe don't have that knowledge and certainly possibly not that training, could pick up and could teach within their classroom. And so we were really fortunate to work with Holly, who created some incredible resources with us, things that the children found really inspiring, things that were really kinesthetic, that were tangible, that they could look on and they could play within the classroom and really deepen their learning. In terms of teacher notes, we wanted to create a resource where teachers could further their understanding too. So at the end of every slide, we've included quite a few notes that actually teachers could take that learning further. Teachers could understand more about Berlioz, about how he created the work, about the orchestration and the instrumentation, and so that they could really challenge their children to to take their learning to the highest possible level. I think we all know as educators that actually children will take their learning as far as you will let them. There is never any ceiling to what they can achieve, and we wanted to create a set of plans that really allow them to really reach for the sky in terms of their understanding, in terms of their excitement for the music, and in terms of how they could appreciate Berlioz as a composer. We wanted to create a set of lessons that were going to provide a rich palette of inspiration. So it wasn't just a case of listening to music. We wanted to unpick how they listened to music. And this is an example of my year 6 last year in lockdown when I was working with a bubble. And we chose different images to portray each of the different 5 movements. And then I was absolutely blown away by the level of communication, of the adjectives, of the description and the imagery that they pulled from each of those movements. So you can't quite read all of the different words there, but you can see the number that the children picked out from each of those movements. And then we wanted to take their learning further and begin to draw that symbolism from each of the movements. And what did the movements make the children feel? How did they see each of the different colours of those movements? So it was that real focused listening. It was thinking about orchestration. It was thinking about atmosphere. It was trying to get them to understand what Berlioz's vision was behind the work. It was listening to the motifs and following that idée fixe right the way through the 5 movements. And again, primary school children, very, very capable of doing that. And you saw Laurel's class. She was working with year 4 in the clip. And last year I worked with year 6. And both ages were more than capable of gaining that real understanding. We decided in my year 6 class we'd create a story in symbols. So for each of the different movements, we tried to think about what symbol did they think reflected each of the movements. We thought about different colours as well, the different colours for each of the movements. And I'm just trying to move that on to the next one. Oh, there we go. And you can see from those 2 different examples, it's very easy. Even if I cut them all up and mix them up, you'd be able to work out which of those works fitted for each of the different movements. That first one, that dreaminess, that reverie. The second movement, the swirling and the dancing, the fizz and sparkle of the ball. On the third one, I like that middle one where you can see the green. You can see, I know because I talked to the person that created that, the green dots and the little swirls are the 2 voices, the cor anglais and the oboe, the 2 shepherds calling to each other. And then in the middle, the green is them sat in some kind of pastoral atmosphere. In the 4th movement, you can see for both of them the idea of the clamour, the idea of a crowd, that incessant kind of movement forward. And again, they've picked up that red colour to depict the atmosphere that the music creates. And finally, in movement 5, that spiky, thrilling, unstable kind of atmosphere, the energy in the music and the huge range of pitch, and the idea of that roundness and the dance and the frenzy of the Witches' Sabbath. So I'm going to let Laurel speak now because she knows exactly what it's like to teach all of these lessons. And here is her class.
Hello, hi everyone. Yes, I thought I'd speak a little bit more about sort of the mechanics of how this worked within the classroom, having been lucky enough to teach it. I borrowed an amazing class of year 4s and did it with them. The idea is that we really have created, as Kirsten said, something ambitious. The wonderful educationalist Mary Myatt, who Kirsten and I kind of worship, she speaks so passionately about creativity in schools, and she says how when you learn in an ambitious way with primary children, it raises the stakes. And we hope that we've captured that with this selection of lessons, but that they are also, as well as raising those stakes, they're absolutely achievable within Key Stage 2 in the primary classroom. So we've created a variety of activities, and there are probably more than 2, but 2 key ways that you could access this in the classroom. The first one is how I did it, which is you could do it as a carousel and really immerse the children within Berlioz for an extended period of time. There are 2 lessons, one about Berlioz as an orchestrator and another about him as a storyteller, 2 of his key, rather special attributes. And I spent a day on Berlioz as an orchestrator and a day on Berlioz as a storyteller, and I had the activities in carousel. Obviously, you need a more extended block of time to do that, but that can, particularly with creative lessons, work really effectively for children, really immerse them within it. You can create very exciting hooks, and you can create that electric sort of buzz in the classroom because you're doing it for that extended period of time. Another benefit of doing that is that resources, you can create fewer resources because they're sharing and they're moving around. And for some of the activities, I'm thinking in particular, there's an activity in the Orchestrator lesson where the children create a layout of the orchestra and have to group the instruments in terms of their instrument families. That works so well in carousel because they can experience it, it's interactive, it's kinesthetic, and then they can move on round the carousel. Alternatively, you could, of course, use the activities and split them into individual lessons if that works better for you, in which case you could spend 6 lessons, your music time, exploring Berlioz in depth. As Kirsten mentioned, the idea is to go deeper, and the resources work really well. At the beginning of each lesson, you could go back to those first slides, which really walk the teacher through everything and allow them to deepen their understanding in each lesson rather than just starting from the beginning. This is a little clip of me doing one of the activities with a group. It's the Mark the Beat activity, which is about the children taking on that role of the conductor. Have a look. 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 2, 4, 2. 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 2, 4, 2. 1, 2, 2, 2. 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 3, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 5, 2, 3, 6, 2, 3, 7, 2, 3, 8, 2, 3. Frantically counting. Keep everyone together. The idea of that is that they really are at the centre of that learning. As Kirsten said, classical music is for them to actively take part in. And this is another clip of a different activity that captures the 2 voices in movement 3. Have a look at the children doing some composing of their own using Glockenspiels. So you could, if you fancy having 30 Glockenspiels playing simultaneously, you could do that with everyone at the same time, of course, or you could do it in a group like I did and have Glockenspiels tinkling away while you do other things, both of which would work. But the thing that we hopefully captured with this activity is, as Kirsten said, that classical music is living and breathing as well. It is for them, and they can take ownership of it and really be at the centre of their learning within the activities. So we hope that we've created a bit of a smorgasbord for you to choose what you like and make it work for your class, however works for you, and your progression of music and skills within the music curriculum at wherever you are.
Thank you, Laurel. You can see how much those children were immersed in it, and that little clip was inspired by the movement 3, where the cor anglais and the oboe call to each other, and initially it's an echo. So initially the children were echoing each other exactly, and then they took that a step further and they did a call and then a response. And the children saw themselves as composers. They could see that they had created that composition themselves, and I think it was a really meaningful way of taking something from the Berlioz and then developing it into a composition activity. I'm just going to finish with a quote from the national curriculum. So this is telling us really what as teachers we should be doing. And I hope that we've captured that and really made it magic for the children, because that's what we want to do. We want those children to walk out of that classroom and think, I want to be that musician. And I think in everything, in each of the different lessons, and I was lucky enough to be a fly on the wall when Laurel was teaching those lessons, to see that sparkle in the children's eyes and to listen to them talk about the music at a real great depth, that the different lessons that we've created hopefully enable them to do that. We want to leave them hungry for more, either to want to play an instrument or to go to a concert or to see that Bristol Beacon is somewhere that they could come to and enjoy live music. And I'm going to finish off with the ophicleide, because you have to, don't you, really, in Symphony Fantastique, that amazing instrument that is no more. But again, how wonderful that the children can talk about it. And I was listening to them come out of Laurel's class and just talking about did it really exist? Did it really sound like that? And you know that you've just absolutely captured that magic for the children. I want to thank Laurel hugely for her inspiration behind some of those lessons and making them come alive for me in the classroom. And you had a little sneak peek of Amy, who's the class teacher in that classroom, who let us borrow her class and work wonders with them as well. To Claire Alsop, who worked with me through lockdown. We were bubbled together with Year 6, and we trialled all of the lessons originally just to check that they would all work. To Julien and Lord Aberdare for giving us this wonderful opportunity to create these lessons. So thank you very much indeed, and I'm going to hand over to Dan.
Thank you very much. Oh, wonderful. Thank you. So I'm Dan Pate. I'm Head of Music at Bristol Free School. And again, I've been really fortunate to be part of this Fantastique for Schools project, which has been such an exciting project. What I find most inspirational about it is getting kids excited about classical music. And I think that there's so much in there for them. And this project has allowed us to really unlock that passion in lots of students. And I hope we'll continue to do so across lots of other schools in the country. So I've been responsible for the secondary curriculum. And with the secondary curriculum, what we've tried to do is, in a similar way to the primary school, we want to really present Berlioz's life and music in a really engaging way, continuing all the fantastic work done at primary and building on it. What I think is really important for this project is to make the resources exciting and dynamic. Just with the primary curriculum, we want to really get them hooked, really pose questions that get them thinking, really give them stories and ideas in the music that are going to get them really curious and wanting to know more. It's also really important to make our music accessible. When students come up to secondary school, we have students at a whole vast range of prior musical experience. Some of them had plenty of music in their lives and will come into it as musical experts, but many of them will come in with a much more limited musical experience. So we want to make sure that all of the resources that we put together are really accessible for every single student who walks into that classroom. And as we just heard from the primary curriculum, we want to make sure that they feel that this music is for them. It's not something that exists out there for other people. It's something they can really own, be a part of. And for it to be a resource which can be used in other schools, I think it's really, really important for those resources to be adaptable. So there are many different teaching contexts in secondary school with lots of different departments, with different teaching staff, with different equipment and resources available. So we want to make sure that whatever your school looks like, whatever equipment you've got, whatever kind of staff in the department or expertise or facilities in the school, you will be able to run these lessons effectively. So those have been the kind of main driving points behind the secondary curriculum. So they do 3 lessons over the course. There are 3 lessons focusing, just like in the primary, on 3 of the areas that Berlioz was a particular specialist in. Starting with a lesson on composing. We listen and explore Berlioz's life and story, and then we listen to elements of the Symphonie Fantastique, focusing on how he uses the Dies Irae, that dark medieval melody to represent death, used in the piece. We listen to how it's used and how he uses it as a starting point for composing, and then have a go at composing our own melodies in accompaniment to the Dies Irae to create a kind of dark, sinister atmosphere. I think we're going to see a little clip now of the class doing some of their own composing.
Here we go. Ready? 3, 4.
Bit of me shushing in there as well, classic teaching. But really nice, so they had the Dies Irae as a baseline sort of underneath their lovely composed melodies as they were kind of experimenting with different notes to create that atmosphere. So that lesson is, as well as performing on keyboards, we do a bit of singing the Dies Irae as well, and that's a kind of keyboard-based composition lesson. The second lesson is orchestrating, and it's where they take the melodies that they composed in their first lesson and using music technology, have a go at actually recording these into a sequencing software, and then playing with orchestration, thinking about Berlioz's role as a master orchestrator, and the various different instruments being like the kind of colours of paint available to an artist. How can we create the moods we really want to create using the vast orchestra available to Berlioz at the time? Now, in putting this lesson together, one key consideration, we really wanted to run a music technology-based lesson, but of course, schools are going to have vastly different setups in terms of what technology is available. So one of the things that we've done with this lesson is make sure that there are video tutorials available for all manner of production packages, whether you use Sibelius, whether you use GarageBand, whether you use Cubase, or web-based things like Soundtrap or others as well. There are tutorials and full walkthroughs for all of those systems, with the idea being that whatever system you've got in your school, you will be able to run this lesson. So students try recording in their instruments and then have a go at orchestrating it, and we'll see a small clip of some students working on a piece now.
So you've got two other parts in there. Can you change the sounds to those? Particularly that low one, the Dies Irae sound, to make it sound really sinister. Well done. What sound have we got over here, guys?
Basses.
Oh, basses. What does that sound like on the double bass? What does it kind of feel like to you? Scary? Yeah, I think the low bass sound can give it quite a sinister sound, which is great. Well done. Oh, nice. What does that bass sound like on that Dies Irae?
Doom, gloom and destruction.
Doom, gloom and destruction. Love it. Very good. So here we go with the French horn. That sounds great. What I might do is go for it.
All right, the clip seems to end there. There we go. Sound of a very noisy music class from there. But hopefully you can see some of those students engaging with that task. They really, really enjoyed using the computers to have a go at their orchestrating. In the final lesson then is conducting. And we have some fantastic videos put together by the conductor, Ben England, teaching the students to conduct in 2, to conduct in 4, in 3, and many other styles. And students have a go at conducting the class. So in conducting all together, and then as well as students conducting in pairs, and actually even coming to the front of the class and conducting the group to understand what that role of the orchestra director actually looks like. So we'll see a small clip now of one of our students conducting the class.
So we've got a 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, ready? Here we go. You lost us. Try again. Oh, hang on. Well done, Eleanor, well done.
There we go, she's getting the hang of it. Lovely. So it has been, those are the lessons that are available to them. As I say, we try to make them really, really flexible. So in all the lessons, there is full lesson plans, tons of teacher notes to guide you through the lessons, and lots of suggested and alternate activities. So I think the best way of teaching these projects is to look at the resources, see what's available, and then see what fits your school. See what works best in your school context and with your students. And hopefully there's enough stuff there that you can be really kind of flexible and make it work for you and your students. I again wanted to say thank you so much for being a part of it. It's been wonderful working with the Berlioz 150 team. I wanted to say a quick thank you to Gabby Dawson, who's also a teacher at Bristol Free School, who's been helping us develop and run these lessons as well, and to everyone involved at Bristol Beacon as well, because it's been a real pleasure being involved. I will leave you with a small clip of some feedback from some students when we talked about what they liked about the project at the end.
I learned about Berlioz. I've never learned about conduct before, and how to put music together like he did, and how to conduct, which I've always known, which I've always wanted to know how to do.
We learned that he was inspired by Beethoven and Mozart to do music with emotions.
He also became obsessed with this woman, and he fell so deeply in love with her that he once had a dream that he poisons himself and sees her dancing with witches.
He was in the romantic era of music, and he did a lot of like dramatic stuff, and so he did one of his ones, which was Symphonie Fantastique.
There we go, lovely stuff. And I believe I'm going to pass on to Bridget. Oh.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Dan. Alastair earlier thanked the individuals and the institutions who supported Fantastique for Schools. I would like to thank the organization who partnered with us and who helped spread the word around Fantastique for School. The first one is Music Mark, and actually Berlioz 150 recently joined Music Mark as an industry partner. So we have now Bridget Whyte, the executive director at Music Mark, who is here on Zoom as a speaker live. Bridget?
Hello, Julien. Thank you very much. It's lovely to be with you, and apologies that I couldn't be with you in person at the Bristol Beacon this afternoon, but it's great to be able to join this event virtually. My name, as Julien said, is Bridget Whyte, and I'm the CEO of the UK Association for Music Education, Music Mark. Quite a mouthful, so we usually just say Music Mark. We are a membership organisation for the music education sector across the UK that aims to support its membership, help them to connect with each other and the wider sector, and we influence policy and practice on their behalf. In addition to our growing membership of music services and other music education specialist organisations, as well as individuals, we have a network of industry partners who help us to support those providing music education for children and young people across the country. And as Julien said, Berlioz 150 is part of that. Music Mark is also a subject association for music, and as part of that role, we are delighted to have direct contact with a growing network of schools across the UK, supporting classroom teachers and the wider school staff with advice, training, and resources. There are many great resources available for teachers to use to provide an exciting music education in and out of the classroom. And whilst it is important to ensure that children explore the breadth of music that exists, I'm delighted that Music Mark has been able to help in the development of and now to promote this new resource, Fantastique for Schools, which provides teachers with ways to explore classical music through the works of such a very interesting classical composer. I discovered Berlioz as a teenager learning the bassoon. The youth orchestra I was in, Hampshire County Youth Orchestra, learnt the Symphonie Fantastique, and I still remember some of the great passages that took ages to get right, but were so exciting to play. His skill, Berlioz's skill in writing for the different instruments in the orchestra is inspiring, especially when you discover, as I did when finding out more about the work I was playing, that he didn't play the piano, something I had assumed at that time that all composers did. Indeed, perhaps the instruments he did play, the flute, the guitar, and the flageolet, have the potential to encourage those learning the recorder or the ukulele as part of whole class ensemble tuition to use the opportunity to start their own composer journey. In his memoir, Berlioz wrote, "I was 12 years old before the magic of music was revealed to me." We would all agree that musical learning should start much earlier, and I feel sure that this new resource will not only help children in Key Stages 2 and 3 to learn about the man and explore the magic of his music, but also support their ongoing learning of this most magical of subjects. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bridget. Thank you. The other organization who is helping us spreading the word about Fantastique for School is the ABRSM. I want to thank them, especially today, because they sent a tweet this morning, and I could see straight away on my feed, on my emails, the number of teachers who joined the program Fantastique for School. So it's great to have those two organizations behind us. Talking for the ABRSM, I now would like to welcome Lincoln Abbotts, Executive Director for Strategic Development. Lincoln.
Thank you very much, Julien, and great to see everyone equally. Sorry not to be able to be with you face to face, but really enjoying the event and the enthusiasm and the sense of ambition that we've heard from all our colleagues. So it's a real pleasure to be with you all today. And on behalf of ABRSM, we're really pleased to be working in partnership with you all. As we've seen and heard, Fantastique for Schools is a great resource. It's a resource that will ignite enthusiasm for music making as well as promoting that all-important sense of curiosity. That's one of my favourite words. I think being curious about how music works and about how composers of the past influence and connect to the contemporary and future worlds is a really important and rich theme. Classical music is big, to quote one of the pupils we heard from the primary school earlier. Specifically, I'm hoping that our partnership will lead to more teachers working together, supporting and inspiring one another. I'm really keen that visiting instrumental and vocal teachers work alongside classroom teachers to explore this resource and the rich tapestry of music that is that of Berlioz. I'll finish by trailing that we're collaborating with Berlioz 150 and Fantastique for Schools on the extension of ABRSM's existing Classical 100 platform. It already exists, it's in about 6,000 primary schools around the country, and we're going to be evolving that platform to support the model music curriculum that we've heard about earlier. So that's to the future. Back to today. Thank you again for inviting me to be a part of things. Congratulations to everyone involved in creating what is a really rich, ambitious and inspiring resource, and we're looking forward to working together. Thank you.
Thank you, Lincoln. We were hoping to have a word from Nicholas Cullen. Unfortunately, I didn't get it on time, but maybe check our next newsletter and we will be featuring that video. I now would like to open it to the floor, as we say, and maybe questions from the web, so from online, taking questions from you guys. So I will be moderating this Q&A. Feel free to raise your hand or to pass me any questions you have from the chat on Zoom. And I will pass the questions to the relevant person who is maybe more able to answer if it's not myself. Yes, please.
This is more of a secondary question, but with those lessons, did you plan them with a certain year group in mind? As we know, year 7 and year 9 were different, or was it something that completely tailored to it?
So that's a question for Dan. If we had a specific age group in mind for the secondary school, a specific year group in mind for when you created the lessons?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the group you saw was a year 7 group, and it works really well as a year 7 lesson as an introduction to perhaps the skill of composing or the skill of using music technology to orchestrate. However, there is even further depth into those lessons which you could go into if you were to run it with a year 9 group. So it has been designed with any year group in mind. I think perhaps some of the storytelling elements lean really well towards the younger year groups. However, I think there's stuff in there for the older year groups as well to take it further.
Thank you. Any other questions? I'm not sure if we have anything from online. Anybody?
Yeah, so Julien from Abbott was asking, do the project sessions lead to a specific outcome, or is it just about the process?
Sorry.
Project sessions lead to a specific outcome, or is it just about the process?
Do the project sessions lead to specific outcomes, or is it about the process?
I think it must be either Kirsten or...
Kirsten.
I would say that, and Laurel can chip in with me as well, that actually it's the process that's most important here. It's that getting under the skin of who Berlioz was and what the music's about, and understanding and unpicking that music so the children leave the classroom with that real understanding of one of our great composers. There is certain outcomes that the children might have because the composition that they were doing with the Glockenspiels, they'll have that piece that they're going to create with the call and response and the echo. Again, when they're creating some of the reviews, that links to literacy, and at primary level, we're all about creating that golden thread of learning through different curricular subjects as well. So although I would teach this as a music explicit subject, there are all kinds of avenues that you could draw upon to make that golden thread of links between other subjects. Do you want to add anything, Laurel?
Yeah, I would say if you wanted to create a specific outcome, you could then delve deeper. For example, the review.
Laurel, do you want to go and take that mic?
Yeah.
Hello. I was just going to say that if you wanted a more specific outcome, and sometimes you do, you could delve even deeper into one specific activity. Kirsten mentioned the review there. You could spend a whole lesson on that one activity, should you want to, and then create a really amazing cross-curricular piece of literacy that you could use for assessment or for other purposes. So I think the answer is both, but that it's the process here that we're really excited by and that really develops those musical skills that they can translate across all areas of their learning. But if you wanted an outcome, they are there also.
And say hello as well. Yeah, I would echo that in secondary as well, that the process is the most important bit, certainly, and that's why we chose to do 3 lessons, each with a completely different focus, with the idea that students are getting a bit of a taster into being a composer, being an orchestrator, being a conductor, which they can then kind of pursue forward in their other Key Stage 3 and beyond lessons. There are threads that can carry through though, and you will have seen that in the first lesson they'll compose an idea which they're then using in the second lesson for the orchestration lesson. And in particular, that music tech project, the orchestration lesson, could really extend by another 3 or 4 lessons if you would like it to. That could actually be a whole termly project, and there are suggestions within the resources for how to do that if you would like to, but it's there as an individual lesson if you prefer to run it in that kind of taster menu. So students will finish with a piece of music they have composed and orchestrated, but it is really the process that's all about getting those students excited about the music and feeling like those skills of being a conductor, a composer, an orchestrator are things that they can do, something that's for them and something that they can be really involved in.
And if I could just say a word about a slightly different sort of outcome. The teacher's materials will include assessment forms so that you can record what sort of outcomes in terms of what the children have learnt and how far they've got in terms of a basic understanding or a more comprehensive understanding, or indeed a more sort of creative understanding of the lessons. And that's, of course, very important from our point of view in understanding, are these resources actually contributing to greater musical understanding on the part of children. So we are hoping to provide those kinds of resources within the total package so that you can get a feel and indeed communicate a feel for what difference is this making to the children and to their musical understanding. And I think we'll do something similar on with the secondary resources as well.
Any other questions? Yes, please.
If there were to be an outcome that was perhaps recorded as an audio recording, perhaps the pupils had done some composition or were playing an excerpt of the piece, is there a way that we can feed that back to you so you can see the journey that us schools are on?
Maybe that's a question for us, actually. The question is if there is, as an outcome, a recording of what children have done in the class, if there is a way for us to feature it and show it. I would like to say yes. We have a website and we can feature anything we want on it. And certainly it will be a great outcome, something that we will feel very proud to feature online, and that we can encourage as well. So feel free to do it.
It would be great as well, Rich, to think as well that if schools were inputting some of their ideas, it would actually further the whole project, because we at Horfield could look at some of the work that you're doing thinking, oh, we could take it in that direction as well. And actually it would expand the programme and create potentially more and more lesson plans that we would be able to feed into. So I think it'd be a brilliant idea.
And by recording, I think it can be video, audio, and capturing images as well. I mean, it can be on all those forms. On that note, actually, I would like to have a word about the extra resources on the website on fantastique.school. We have at the moment some videos that we have from our partners, LSO Live, Aurora, and others. And it will be a great pleasure for me to make it even more rich as a source for content.
Yes. I think that's a really interesting idea. I mean, it's something we would love to pursue. I was thinking also, you know, maybe we should have a competition for the best review. I love those, the fact they were all reviewing the Symphonie Fantastique, but I think there are all sorts of things like that we would love to know about, first of all, and we would certainly like to, as Julien has said, spread the awareness of them. And we're also looking at opportunities to link schools that are working with these resources to any performances we can find of the Symphonie Fantastique, and maybe try and, you know, get them entry to matinees or whatever it might be, because obviously I think they get a really good feel from the Aurora performance, and the whole thing is there and usable. But obviously, if they can actually get to go to a concert with the sort of understanding that they're getting from the lessons, that could be really powerful. So we're very keen, and we're also keen to look at what we do next. We've got nothing vocal, and the Symphonie Fantastique is entirely orchestral. So, you know, maybe we should find a way of expanding to into a vocal area, assuming somebody's willing to pay for it. But there we are. How are we doing with questions?
If there is any other question, maybe from online. Nope. Yes, again. Well, it's yes. I mean, it might be early to announce something now, but yes, we are starting conversation with one orchestra in particular with the performance of Symphonie Fantastique, hopefully in Bristol and in other places in the UK. I didn't take my slide, but that's me. I don't have much else to add apart from saying that it has been a huge pleasure to work on this project. For me, it has been a bit of my lockdown project, and it's even more. It's even a greater pleasure to be here today with you and kind of celebrating this launch in on location for real. It's a pleasure to see you, to meet the people I've worked with, and I want to thank Laurie and everyone at Bristol Beacon and the tech team, and everybody has been fantastic. It's the right word for it. And to leave you, maybe passing the microphone back to Alastair, but yes, that's the destination, Fantastique.school. That's the website. I'm your point of contact. Feel free to email me, call me, and do sign up, and hope to see you all again soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Julien. Yes, we chose Fantastique because we thought it was a good description of the project. It is the name of the work we were going to work with, and it has the other advantage that it's easily understandable in English. It's fantastic. It's easily understandable in French because it is French. It's fantastique or something in German. It's fantastique with two F's and a G in Welsh. So it was. You can see that our ambition extends beyond this room to more distant parts. Both in terms of these first resources, but also in terms of thinking where we might go next and build on this, because we think it's a concept with enormous potential to get kids excited about music through the music itself and through taking it apart in the way that Kirsten and Laurel and Dan have described. Anyway, you probably think I've thanked everybody that is at all thankable so far, in which case you're going to be disappointed because I've got some more. Although I was slightly, my thunder was slightly stolen by Julien, but I do want to thank the team at Bristol Beacon, and especially Laurie for their support in the project, and Phil, who's sitting at the back there as well. They've been fantastically supportive. And of course, above all, today, the technical team, Fraser and his colleagues, because how they've made all this work, I'm not at all sure, and it's certainly way beyond my pay grade. But very many thanks to them for making it happen, and hopefully that it's been a pleasure for those who aren't here but have been streaming, and will be a pleasure for all the hundreds of people who will continue to watch it. Thank you to all of you for coming. It's really nice. It's really nice to meet the teachers who've been developing these resources, and hopefully a lot of teachers who are going to use them, and to see people face to face again. What a pleasure. And thanks also to everybody who's been watching on the streaming, and I hope you found it interesting and exciting, and that as many of you as possible will try out the resources, build on what the teachers have already achieved, and help us to build on it, so that we can expand and develop and extend this idea, and sell Berlioz to the world, which is my mission in life, is to sell. We have one of our trustees actually works on introducing Latin to state schools, and we signed him up as a trustee because we thought if he can sell Latin to state schools, selling Berlioz to everybody else should be a doddle. Thank you again, everybody. Nice to be here. Thank you for coming. Hope you found it interesting. Do try the resources, and I think we've got some refreshments, Laurie, to look forward to. So thank you again.